Good morning, my creative friends. Super excited to be back after an amazing week away. Hello, if you're just finding me for the first time, so excited that you're here. I'm Dr. Minette Riordan, and I am passionate about the transformative and healing impact of the art we make on every area of our lives, past, present, and future. I believe deeply that art making and writing combined are this incredibly powerful tool for self-discovery, for clearing limiting beliefs and blocks of the past. And I get really excited about doing this work and really helping women to see the amazing, deep, wise human beings that they are at any age and stage of life. And I want to welcome you, whether you're here for the first time or have been here many times. We're going to continue on our journey of intuitive art making, intuitive collage, maybe today combining some images and some paint. I'm not sure yet. And I never am when I start, which is part of that intuitive process, is being able to just sort of trust the own flow of the work that you're doing. And I am just back from a week away at Books in the Woods with Ali Manning and the Vintage Page Designs team, teaching at her amazing retreat, and just came back inspired. I loved teaching. I loved taking classes. Massachusetts and Connecticut are so beautiful this time of year. The green and the lush really nurtured and fed my soul. And I came back ready to kind of dive into my own art and my own creative practice. And I want to share with you something that I created before I left and haven't had time to share out. I love creating printable prompts. As many of you know, it's one of my favorite things. And then my talented son takes and just makes them all really pretty. And I am so excited to be back here with all of you. Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Yvonne. Good morning, Lisa. So good to be here with all of you. I'm going to go ahead and change my camera. So if you're on my email list, you may have seen these as part of a Mother's Day sale that we created, but we have created a deck of 52 printable prompts. I haven't trimmed these up and made them pretty yet, for working with your intuitive art and specifically with intuitive collage. Because for me, where the meaning happens when you're creating intuitively, there's something to be learned on the journey as you go, and there's something to be learned afterwards doing the writing and hi Anne, good to see you here. There's something to be learned from doing the writing and thoughtfulness after the fact. And the question I often get asked is, how do I start? How do I connect with my intuitive collage? How do I begin to find the meaning in it? And prompts are often a great way to start. So I had a little printing. I didn't realize it was double-sided. Awesome. I'm so glad you picked them up during the sale. That was definitely the best price for them. And I just ordered a little quarter rounder so I can trim them up. I took a couple of decks with me and sold them while I was at Books in the Woods, but I like to hole punch them and put a binder clip on them. And like I said, I would not normally, they worked fine double-sided, but I prefer them, I think, single-sided, and they're full of just juicy information. View your collage as a reflection of your soul. What aspects of your innermost being are being revealed through this creative expression? So if you're like me and you love getting deep with your art, I'm going to encourage you to pick up a set of these because they really are beautiful. They have a variety of different kinds of prompts. I had so much fun working and creating these prompts for you. I love the color analysis one, is a really favorite one. The link to purchase these is in the description of this video, along with a coupon code just for people here on Painting in Your PJs with Minette to get $5 off of the deck. So highly encourage you to snag a set of these. Lisa, they're included with the Soul Journeys class, by the way. So you will get a deck of these. If you purchase my Soul Journeys class, you will get a printable deck of these included with your class. And the one that I picked today was this guidance seeking, which says, imagine seeking guidance from a wise figure or mentor depicted in your collage. What wisdom do they offer you? What wisdom do they offer you? So when I thought about this, sometimes I want inspiration before I dive into a collage, which was what I needed this morning. My brain still isn't quite fully back into work mode after being away for a week and then coming home and really taking the week off. But this image has been floating around in my stash for a while, and I'm so drawn to her. And so there's some wisdom to be gained for me in this woman, posing. And I think this is a photograph. It's an ad for Dolce and Gabbana, but it feels very painterly also, and it's just beautiful. So I'm going to start by cutting out this image, and I'm going to see where this journey takes me. And I'm sort of loosely holding on to this idea from the prompt cards about seeking guidance from a wise figure or mentor. And I really love this turquoise fabric that she's lying on. So to start, I'm going to cut the fabric out as well. And I probably shared before, and it's worth repeating here, that one of the things that I took away from my Soul Collage certification was the importance of fussy cutting, the importance of cutting images away from their backgrounds and putting them onto new backgrounds, because that's where meaning happens. You can tear images, you can cut images, but there's something when I take her away, I see her, she becomes the focus. I'm not looking at the image as a whole, but suddenly I can create something that feels more about the story that I want to tell. And I can't decide, sorry, those lights are pretty glary this morning, and if I move them, they get too dark. And as I'm looking at her, I'm also thinking, what size do I want this to be? Do I want this to be a full sheet? This is just a nice mixed media paper I found at a recycled craft store that I'm playing with, that I'm really loving. I'm feeling like I want to paint and collage the background of this, and that she's going to be the sort of focal point here. And I am feeling like I want this to be a little bit smaller, kind of a more soul collage size. This paper is super soft. It's quite lovely. And I think I'm going to get some paint down on here, maybe on that rough side. And I have been just a wee bit obsessed with yellows, plus I love turquoise and yellow together, so I'm going to get a quick layer of this bright yellow. There was some of that in that original image as well. I kind of like the zebra stripes, so some bits of that might get in here. I love using a scraper in my mixed media art journal for a few different reasons. One, it gets the paint on to the surface really quickly, and more importantly, it goes on very thin and very transparent. And when I'm creating mixed media art journaling, and this was the lesson that I taught last week at Books in the Woods, was the way that to create, me too, Lisa, loving me some yellow energy, some third chakra energy for sure. Um, when you're creating mixed media art and collage, the secret, I think, to building up those really interesting pages is transparency, one, and patience, letting layers dry. And when I want to be able to see what's underneath the layers, when I use a scraper of some kind, like this recycled Starbucks gift card, what happens is that the paint goes on thin and I'm using transparent paint. I can push paint back, and also it's very smooth, which I love a very smooth surface because I love doing mark making on top of it. And it's fast, and I definitely love working fast when I'm working with intuitive collage. And I'm feeling like I already want to do some writing on this. Sometimes I do the writing with that very first layer. Let's see what we got here. Make sure. The other thing is it dries fast and I can move on. And so there's something in here about just sort of, seeking guidance from a mentor. And I'm just getting some of my own handwriting in here. I'm going to make it very messy. I don't need to be able to read it. I can even do some, asemic style writing where it looks like handwriting, but it's not. And what it feels like is I'm seeking guidance from that wise woman within. And at almost 60, I've been thinking a lot about what do I want for the next few decades of my life? How do I want to feel, right? How do I need to nurture and take care of myself at this stage of age? I want to feel alive and vibrant and sensual and strong. On Sunday, Brad and I drove to one of our favorite little mountain towns way up high in the mountains. It was still cold. It was not spring up there yet. And went to our favorite coffee shop and spent a long time talking about, business and life and language and what is the work that I do. And I think it really is about helping other women to find that wise woman within, but also that little bit of wild, right? That often gets lost in the years of the work that we do. And I'm feeling like I want to cover up all of this, and it's going to take a minute here to do that. And I often think about, at this age and stage, who are my mentors, right? Like, I love the actress Meryl Streep, the actor Meryl Streep, and how she has aged very naturally and graceful, or Dame Judi Dench, right? There's just some amazing women who are living such vibrant lives, and I think that's important. I think about Maya Angelou, and like she didn't start writing, I think, till she was in her 50s. And just there's so much possibility and potential at any age of stage in life. And I think sometimes, we retire or shift gears. Okay, that's not going to be permanent on there, even though it's a Sharpie gel pen. Interesting. Okay. Um, and I think that we can feel invisible, or no one sees us, or we can feel irrelevant. And I think it's so important to find the ways that we want to still be relevant and make a contribution, whether it's in our own homes, in our communities, right, or on a bigger scale. Okay, I think I'm going to do this. Turn it upside down. Doesn't need to be readable. Oh, that's a great idea to do color on color. I love that. It's a great idea. But no one's going to be able to read this, right? And so just that I know that text is there. It gets some of my own hand in there. It sort of puts the energy in there is the way I like to think about it. So I'm already thinking about where I'm going with this. I'm going to just put a quick layer of matte medium on here that'll just kind of seal that writing in a little bit. So if I want to come in and add more color or paint over the top, I can. Even my under paper is getting pretty. I'm going to have to use this one for collage soon. And now I'm going to start thinking about what else is going to go here. There's all kinds of things sort of just floating around on my desk that now aren't feeling as relevant. It's funny, one of the first things I pulled out was this orb, which I think may still go on there, and it would be fun to stitch that on there. There we go. Yep, totally. Second chakra, third chakra colors, right? And this beautiful turquoise blue is throat chakra. So speaking our truth. So one of the cards in the deck is all about color and what do the colors mean to you, and the color was a very important part of this. I sort of love the cleanness of this and the simplicity of this, and sometimes we don't have to add a lot. It can be so fun with mixed media and collage to go a little bit crazy and add so many of the things, but we don't have to add all the things. I do really like the zebra stripes, and so I may just come in here and cover up all of that writing, get those zebra stripes back in there, but still kind of making it my own, little bits peeking through to kind of finish off that corner. And I do kind of like these clouds here. So now you notice that I'm just sort of tearing the images. So it's all coming from that one piece of that article. Kind of repeat that blue up there. Nope, it's too dark. So definitely feeling like I want a little more of that turquoise on there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the zebra stripes down. It's always fascinating to me when some of these, okay, there's no glue in that glue stick. Sometimes these intuitive collages come together so fast, and then sometimes it feels like I might work on one forever. So June is going to be a pretty light month for me. I have a ton of travel this month. Next week I am hosting my Time Travelers Retreat here in my home studio in Loveland, Colorado. So I won't be here next week. I might squeak in one day. Tuesdays will be pretty good, but then other days of the week are going to be tricky. So I host my own retreat, and then I turn around and go to Eugene, Oregon, because my baby is graduating from university with all kinds of amazing honors, which is very exciting. So we're driving. We decided to drive to Eugene. And then I come home for a week. Whoops. And then I should have, I think, one normal week, maybe even two. And then I turn around and go back to Oregon for a girls' weekend with some of my artist friends, which I'm very excited about. They came here to my house last summer So this summer we're going to Oregon. Be fun to see where we go next year. All right, just getting a little bit of that sense of that blue sort of cloudy sky in there. Getting, again, my fingers in there gets my own artwork in there. Yes, yay for summer adventures. It's so true. And I'm really excited to be home in July and August and have some work time. I'm putting some thought into creating a summer writing support group and what that might look like. So never a dull moment for sure. All right, now she's coming together. I love how she's just sort of looking over her shoulder a little bit. So I want to bring a little more of that blue over there back onto this side. My scraper go. There was plenty of paint on the page. I didn't need to add more paint. It's amazing what you can do with these to create that color and texture. All right, better. Okay, she's coming together. She definitely has a lot of wisdom to share. Still want that maybe a little bit more blue on there behind, and maybe I'm going to go ahead and bring some of that blue down. Maybe I'm going to tone down. I love the energy of the yellow that's there, but I'm feeling I'm going to tone it down just a little bit with some of these blues and whites to make that orange pop. I'm just going to mix these together right onto my surface, and of course my dryer is way on the other side of the room. It's kind of amazing the different textures that you can get using a scraper like this. Again, I'm not trying to cover up all of the yellow. I still want some little peaks of the yellow to stand through. Clean that off. Okay, starting the day with painty fingers makes Minette a very happy girl. Oh yeah, okay, now it's speaking to me more, and this is going to be that piece that really pops it out. And now I can have some fun maybe with some little yellow sparkles in the background around the moon. And I think I'm going to, for now, I'm going to go ahead and just glue this on with glue stick. And then once it's dry, I might come back and do a little fun slow stitching. So I taught for 2 of the days I was there, and then I also had the opportunity to take a class. I have to remember to show you guys the book I made. So there is an artist, maybe some of you have heard of her, Emma Freeman, Deep Rooted Healing, that does these gorgeous stitched fabric meditation books. And I got to take her class, and it was so much fun. So many just luscious, beautiful fabrics and threads and materials, all things that were all cotton, natural fibers, nothing synthetic. And she was an excellent teacher, and it was such a fun process. Highly recommend going and checking out her Instagram. If you love Instagram, she's Deep Rooted Healing on Instagram. So this is so interesting. I was afraid I would get, paint all over her. I got one tiny little drop of blue paint right there, almost as if there's one little teardrop coming out of there. And it's going to stay there because it wants to be there. We're going to see if this magazine image is going to stick to that fabric. I might have to come over this with a layer of matte medium. I didn't want to put the matte medium on there because I didn't want my fabric to get super, super stiff. All right, let's get our yellow back here. And I'm going to take the end of my paintbrush, not the painty end, but the other end. Make some just little bright spots up here. Bring some of that yellow back and get some mark making in there. My favorite part of mixed media art journaling are always those just little final touches of adding marks and patterns. She feels very potent and powerful. Yes, Amy Miracle taught there as well. She's delightful. She has such a wonderful sense of humor. I really enjoyed. I follow her for sure, and had never spent any time with her, and was super delighted to meet her and spend some time getting to know her. And there was, all the artists were amazing. An artist named Bichet who did a nature gel printing, and Leslie Marsh who did these wearable tiny books that were beautiful, and Tanya Lemos who did cyanotypes. Like every one of us wanted to take everyone's classes because the classes were all just amazing. All right, I'm feeling like I'm gonna come in and just give her a little white outline here. Almost as if she's, that wisdom in her is glowing. Just separate her out a little bit. Drawing even just right over that fabric. Even thinking I could come in and do some writing on here. Ali opted not to teach. She led beautiful because she was running the whole thing with her absolutely amazing team. It was one of the best organized retreats I have ever been to, and I have been to a lot and facilitated a lot. It was fabulous and amazing community. Ali led early morning journaling sessions every morning that were phenomenal. Okay, let's trim this up so we can get a sense of the whole here. I often create this way with collage where I let it just run over the edges of the pages and trim it later, because I don't want to stop that intuitive process by trying to figure it out in the middle. What does it need to look like, right? What does it need to look like? I'm getting more paint on me than I am on the surface here. All right, I think she needs to sit and dry for a minute. So this was an example. I know she's really beautiful. I'm even loving this little drop of blue there, but I might try to push that back just a little bit. I love how quickly it came together. She feels very powerful and wise. So the next step of the process for me is to come back to our prompt card and have a conversation with this beauty here about what wisdom do you have for me? What gifts or insights do you have for me? And the phrase that is popping into my head is, treat treat yourself as someone who is worthy and deserving of your love and attention, right? And so when this is dry, what I love about working just on mixed media paper like this is that I would just turn this card over and do some journaling right on the back of this card so I would remember. And this might get tucked in to a book as well. It would get tucked into a pocket in an art journal. But I love her sensuality, right? I love the flow of her hair. And she's not smiling. She looks fairly contained within herself. So there's this sense of, I am everything that I need, is another phrase that's coming. I am everything that I need. So this is a beautiful, beautiful way to just quickly put some art together that is both beautiful and meaningful. And when I'm working with intuitive art, it's not always beautiful. And for me, what's more important than the beauty is the meaning. All right, I have another image down here that's completely different, but has also been kind of calling out to me. Let's see what else we got down here. I'm just kind of poking through some things that are on the table or on my floor here. So I have this sort of fun, funky picture of this woman. Almost looks like she's in a bridal gown with a bouquet. And she looks like she's part of nature. But then I also have this artist in her studio, and there's something about just the smile on her face that's really drawing me in, and her painty apron that feels like a real honoring of that artist's self. So when I'm looking at these and going, well, I'm not sure where to go next, a fun thing to do might be to just kind of randomly take your deck of prompts and let's just pick one and see. So this one says integration. Explore how the different elements of your collage can be integrated into a harmonious whole. And what does this integration look like for you? So this is how I think about mandala work as well. So mandalas and intuitive collage. Yes, I'm sure this is this was from In Her Studio from autumn of 2023. It's one of my favorite magazines for collage. And when I think about integration, intuitive collage elements represent both the parts and the whole, right? So for example, when we were looking and working on this, like the sun up here, this golden orb has meaning as much as the woman does and the colors do. So there's an integration here of color, image, and texture that creates the whole. But every piece of this has its own meaning and symbolism, right? So we've got the light, we've got the color of the second chakra here, second and third chakras. We've got this, zebra stripes, that little bit of wild. We have this woman in a pose that normally we wouldn't see an older woman in, which is, I think, why it was so drawn to this. Like she's so fully herself in this image. It's exquisite, right? And so there's the parts and the whole. So what's going to happen when Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy you found an in-person group. That's amazing, Yvonne. So I'm going to cut her away from the background, and then I'm going to find some things to go with her, and we'll see what happens, what kind of integration is possible. And again, I'm just coming in and cutting her away from her background. This is Kim Thompson is the artist. She's a ceramist, illustrator, and designer from Idaho. So we're going to celebrate. Oh, isn't this interesting? So I laid those two down without looking. And look at the two of them together. Isn't that interesting? Very curious. So she's kind of like in the foreground here, but there's this little bit of this wild woman kind of peeking over her shoulder. I love when sort of magic things happen. And then there's also bringing her in and putting her into this floral skirt that might be interesting, but I'm not sure. Not sure. So this is where the intuitive part of playing with our images really comes in when we're looking to create some meaning. I also have this cute picture. I'm feeling drawn to the tree, maybe not so much the children, so I'm not going to fussy cut this one, at least not the leaves right now. I'll save that cute little group of kiddos for something else, but I do like the flowers all around. I'm not trying to create meaning here. I'm just trusting the process, allowing the images. I'm trying them on to see, is this what's needed here? Is this part of the story that's unfolding? Something about that artist being, kind of connected to nature. Oh, it changes when she's in the background instead of the foreground. You can tell she's kind of leaning on something there, so I'm kind of trying to, do I want to keep that leaning in there? Got another piece of sort of painty dyed fabric. I cleaned out my studio recently and it was great because, then I found all these things that I had that it's kind of interesting. She's leaning on the feather, but I wonder if I'm going to cut those feathers out and place them behind her. Hi, Georgia. So we've got this and this. Something about the feathers want to be on there. So they don't always come together as fast as that first one did. So what you're seeing here is I picked a starting image and then I'm just going to sort of build this piece. I'm not thinking about the finished product. I'm not even thinking about the prompt right now. I'm just kind of step by step trying things on, seeing what feels to call me. Yes, I know. You're so helpful. All right, we got two feathers. This is much harder to do, Georgia, with you trying to sit on the table. All right. So color palette is starting to emerge kind of unintentionally here, like the colors of these flowers and the feathers are the same. I'm kind of liking the white background maybe, but also feeling like maybe it needs some pops of color. Not feeling drawn to write on the background of this one because I don't know what it means yet, right? Sometimes that writing comes first and then the collage comes next. And then there's other times where the meaning takes weeks to emerge. And so never feel like you have to rush anything that you're doing. So I'm trying to see what else I've got down here that feel like it might be part. I love this person too. Definitely going to show up somewhere. Being drawn to that basket. Excuse me. Sneezing is a good way to get rid of the cats. They do not like sneezing. All right. I'm just sort of flipping. Oh, I love her hanging in the trees. She looks so calm and peaceful. So I have a lot of pieces here, right, that are possible for other collages, but I'm trying to discover what else feels like it belongs with this one. And I had found this quote, "It's not the length of life, but the depth of life." That for me felt like it belonged on that first collage. And it doesn't now feel like it fits, but I think I will still cut that out and put it on the other side. Life is not so much what you accomplish as what you overcome. There's all kinds of good stuff on this one. I think this might be from Mantra magazine, which I love. All right, let's see. And I often work back and forth on more than one collage at a time. And I'm also feeling like I'm going to make a mess out of that yellow paint if I don't get it down on something. So I'm going to trim off the edges. So this was a little fun piece of handmade paper with marks on it. And I thought I grabbed, there's the matte medium. I'm going to use some matte medium to get this piece down on there. And I have no idea. I think I just used a marker of some kind. Oh, and it is going to stay put. Look at that. I know the pen is permanent, but I didn't know. I think it's just a Artist Loft double-tipped marker like a Tombow. Yellow that up. I need that blue on there. I'm just going to mush some of this into the background, start to create some story elements in there. Also feeling like here's another way to get some of my own handwriting in. It may or may not show in the final, but that's okay. And these I literally just took some old book pages, which I have way too many of, and a big bold Sharpie, and wrote some of the words that were on the pages of the book in big text to kind of get them on there. Let's see. So eventually these scrapers get too much paint or matte medium along the edges and they don't make a clean line anymore. At that point you can recycle them or soak them in some hot soapy water, and eventually that paint will just peel right off, but you want to make sure that your scrapers always have kind of nice clean edges. Let's see, I think this one was a little bit of maybe some Derwent ink tints over the top of this one, over in pages from an Asian language textbook, not sure which language. Get just a little bit of that blue down in there. I don't think I need it there. It's going to get covered up by that tree. So I'm liking the trunk. I'm not liking all of this white. It's the tree feels more important than the leaves. So I am just going to tear all of that off because I think the groundedness of this tree trunk is what I'm going for here. And notice on the other one I use glue stick, and this one I'm using all matte medium to kind of, because I started with the collage papers, and it also creates a much flatter image than the glue stick, and the matte medium over the top sort of creates this interesting surface. And I feel like all of this is just going to end up being pushed to the background. And notice I'm using a lot of matte medium. I really want those images to lay flat. I'm putting the matte medium under and over. To make sure everything's sort of settling in there. This is a little piece from that other one, and I kind of love those blue rays there, almost as if they're rays of a sun. Again, I am not thinking about the why or the meaning. I'm just sort of step by step putting things down. Some people work very carefully and they have to have every image figured out before they glue anything down. Sometimes I'm more careful, but most of the time I work as you're seeing me work here now, which is, okay, I'm just going to start gluing things and see where I get to. With glue stick, it's possible to pick things up and move them. That is not true with matte medium. Once the matte medium is down on the page, it is down for good. So this is so much about trust and letting go of outcomes. Knowing that if I don't like this, I can always throw it away. It's just paper and glue. I can also always go back and paint over the whole thing, or the parts I don't like, with some gesso, and come in again. Stay. All right, and you can see this thin paper is definitely wrinkling a little bit. It's really, you have to be really patient with magazine images and matte medium because they do wrinkle quite a bit. And to me, it's just going to be part of the story. You can't really tell when it's flat. You can tell when I kind of lift it up and move it around. It just adds that little bit of texture. I try to clean as I go because I don't like when there gets to be too much paper and then I can't see. All right. Oh, yeah. She's coming together. Figure out where we want these feathers. Where'd the third feather go? Is maybe a little blooming something something down here as well. So completely different story and energy emerging here, right? This kind of feels like me maybe a decade ago, right? And this is where I'm going. So if I kind of look at this as how they're related to stages of my own journey, right? And it's beautiful to see the differences, the changes, the evolution, and I'm not being careful and I'm getting paint all over her. This is another reason to cover your images with matte medium because then you can wipe away little mess ups like that. But I think she just wants to be painted. Maybe she wants even a little more paint on there, a little glowy. So we'll just make it look like it was on purpose. The problem is those dots were all still really wet and then I piled a bunch of stuff on top of it. Okay, loving her. Let's finish you up as well. Feels productive when I can get 2 of these done in an hour. These also, these feathers feel like it would be fun to maybe add some stitching on them, maybe even before I adhere them. So I may not glue her down yet. So it's an example of just sort of listening to that intuition. It's like the feathers aren't quite finished. Oh, that kind of looks like a little pool of water back there, which I kind of like. And I'm just gonna fussy cut this a little bit more. It feels like it needs a pink of this little pop of this pinky red down here in the bottom. And you can find your own blend, right, of fussy cutting and tearing. Yep, I like that there. And what feels best to you. Yeah, now I'm wanting some of that blue to pop out. So this one feels like an unfinished story, right? Because the theme for this one was about integration. And so now the story isn't quite as clear as I want it to be. What if I take those off completely? Because maybe they're not part of the story. I'm feeling like it needs some kind of little critter over here. Maybe she needs a crown. So there's something about this starting now as I took the feathers away, added these botanical elements that feel much more like the artist in bloom, that artist self leaning in. It's my own inspiration is access to nature, right? So all of a sudden, as soon as I took the feathers away and added that flower, then the story began to unfold. And I started to know better what this story is about. Again, I'm wanting to bring in a little more paint up here in this area to kind of just make that piece of collage feel a little more integrated. But now I know who she is, and that story is starting to emerge and feel better. So all I had to do was take one piece away, and then it was like, oh, here's what the story is. Now I know what the story is, and now I can see the integration piece was really about the building of the layers, the trusting of the process, allowing that artist voice and artist self to emerge in its own time, right? I think we get in such a rush to find our style. Yeah, that's better. That's better. That's better. Love that little spot of green in there. And I'm still not ready to glue it down. So something is still unfolding here in this sense of the artist self, and I'm not quite sure what it is. So I'm going to let this one sit for now. And I know when I come back to my desk later today for a little more playtime, that she will tell me what she needs next. But for right now, I'm going to let her rest and get ready for the rest of my day. Okay, that water is feeling more and more important. That blue in there, which means I'm covering up more and more of the flowers. So I'm thinking some of those flowers are going to want to come back over here. But I love where it's going. I love where it's going, and we'll see where she finishes up, and I'll show you on Thursday. I will be back Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Thank you for coming back to join me today. It was great to be away, and it's always great to be back and reconnecting to my own process. We had a productive session. I had a productive session today. Thank you for being here with me. And remembering, if you're creating along with me, post them on Instagram and tag me at Dr. Minette Riordan or hashtag painting in your PJs with Minette. I'd love to see what it is that you're creating too. Have a beautiful rest of your day, everybody, and I will see you all on Thursday. Bye-bye.